everyone, it's Jennifer hitting you with a book talk, and today I wanted to talk about the new Rick Riordan Presents imprint. So we all love Rick Riordan, and if you don't, I recommend you give him another try because he is fantastic. We've all gone on adventures with Percy Jackson, strolled through Egypt in the Red Pyramid, saved the world with Apollo, and you close the very last book and you're like, great, what do I read now? What is as good as Rick Riordan? And it's Riordan. Yeah, I had to Google it actually. Well, luckily enough though, I don't have to answer the question, what is as good as Rick Riordan, because he did it himself. Rick Riordan has paired with his publisher Disney Hyperion to launch a new imprint. So these are books that he's endorsing that he thinks that kids who like his books will also like. And they're all labeled with this fancy little medallion, and they all say Rick Riordan Presents on the top. And I'm going to talk about just a couple of them today. So the first one I want to talk to you about is this book. This book is so good, you guys. This is everything you love about Rick Riordan, but Mayan. So that was kind of a plus for me because I was not familiar at all with Mayan mythology. This is The Stormrunner by J.C. Cervantes. It is a fantasy adventure book. So our hero, Zane Obispo, is a 13-year-old boy. He's homeschooled out in the boony McNowersville of New Mexico because he's got one bum leg and the kids make fun of him. So he's got one leg that's shorter than the other, and he has compensated quite well. He's an expert hobbler with the help of his cane, but he's still really self-conscious about it. And he spends his days eating hot Cheetos and watching wrestling with his Uncle Hondo and answering the phones for his telephone psychic hotline neighbor, Mrs. Cab, to pay for his dog's dog food, and also helping Mrs. Cab out in general because she is blind. But then one day, everything changes when a girl who can change into a hawk follows him home to inform him he's going to cause the end of the world. And later that night, things get weirder when a airplane driven by a demon lands straight in the center of his volcano. So how is he going to cause the end of the world? He is prophesied to release Apuk, the god of the dead, who's been in prison for thousands of years. So in this book, we follow Zane on his wacky adventures as he tries to stop the end of the world, meets a whole cast of crazy Mayan characters, finds out Mrs. Cab is not blind, and comes into his full power, which includes fire magic and an epic lightning cane fight with Apuk. Like, I'm not trying to spoil it, but this book is so good. So all of that and more in The Stormrunner by J.C. Cervantes. And say that you're not like, I love Rick and I want to read a book that Rick thinks is good, but like, let me do something a little out there. Science fiction might be your thing. This is Sal and Gabi Break the Univers, and Sal, the main character, and this is by Carlos Hernandez. So Sal, the main character, he is an amateur magician. He is a 7th grade transfer to Coleco Academy of the Arts, and he commits the ultimate middle school mistake on day 3 at his new school when he catches the eye of the middle school bully, Yasmani, who can't figure out how to get his locker open. So I opened my eyes slowly, the way the good guys in movies do when they've just figured out how to beat the villain. I noticed that the bright young scholars of Coleco Academy of the Arts had formed a ring around Yasmani and me. This crowd didn't seem as bloodthirsty as the ones in my last school had been. In Connecticut, kids hooted like in Planet of the Apes whenever a fight was about to start, jumping up and down and beating on each other in anticipation of somebody getting wedgied back to the Stone Age. But these kids looked kind of grim and quiet, like this was some boring school assembly they had to attend. Well, From my perspective, it didn't really matter whether they were enjoying themselves or not. They had me surrounded just the same. I was trapped. Wait, no. That is an excuse, and I don't lie to myself. I could have pushed my way out of there if I'd wanted to, but now all eyes were on me. I had an audience, and I am a showman. Yasmani stretched his fingers wide before he made two fists. Time to die, little man. Stand up. I stood all right, got right in his face. Time to die? I asked. Time to die, he repeated. Like the dead chicken in your locker? What? See, that's the real secret of dealing with bullies. Change the game. You thought we were going to fist fight, Mr. Tough Guy, but surprise. Now we're talking about murdered poultry. The dead chicken in your locker, I said, explaining it to the crowd. That's the real reason you don't want to open it. You don't want anybody to see your dead chickens so they wouldn't know you keep dead chickens in your locker. Because, I said, turning to Yasmani again, what kind of weirdo keeps dead chickens in his locker? Stop saying dead chicken. Everybody laughed. That probably would have sent Yasmani into a berserker rage if some girl hadn't shrieked, Blood! She was pointing at Yasmani's locker. What? Yasmani asked again. He and everyone else looked at his locker, and yeah, there was watery pink blood leaking from it, the kind you find at the bottom of styrofoam meat packages in the supermarket. Not a lot, but enough to drip from the bottom of the locker and pool on the floor, and it only takes a tiny bit of blood to freak people all the way out. Not me, though. I mean, I didn't know songwriter Paola was going to come dripping out of his locker, but it wasn't exactly a surprise either. I could work with it. Open it, I said to Yasmani. Unless you're too... chicken. How did the chicken get into the locker? Who is Gabi? What is calamity physics? What other magic can Sal do? Does it involve spiders? Cheating death? Find out in Sal and Gabi Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez. So, this book is also science fiction, but it is a space book. And we all love space books, or at least you should. This is Dragon Pearl by Yoon Lee, and the important question to ask yourself before you pick this book up is, do you like Star Wars? If you like Star Wars, you're going to like this book. If you don't like Star Wars, you should probably try this book anyway. Our heroine, Min, is a 13-year-old Gumiho, a fox spirit from Korean folklore, living on a desert planet called Jinju. She dreams of getting away from the poverty of Jinju and seeing the universe with her brother Jun in the Space Forces. But all of that changes when a Space Force messenger arrives bearing news that Jun is missing from his battlecruiser and suspected of deserting to go after the Dragon Pearl, a magical object that can terraform worlds like her planet Jinju, granting prosperity to any world in the universe. Min knows that Jin would never desert his battlecruiser, not even for the Dragon Pearl, but nobody else seems to believe her. So she decides that she has to go on an adventure to clear her brother's name and find out what happened to him. Cue gunfights with space pirates, impersonating dead soldiers, befriending a goblin and a dragon, and an epic face-off with a shape-shifting space tiger. I cannot make this up, you guys. But will she find her brother and clear his name before it's too late? The answer might be different than you think, but you can find out in Dragon Pearl by Yoon Lee. Okay, you guys, I have one more book, and it is actually not out yet, but, you know, anticipation. So I have a beautiful copy of the cover, and this book is, you can't really see it, Paola, Santiago and the River of Tears by Tehlor K. Mejia. This book is supposed to be released in August, and let me tell you, it's going to be worth the wait. I got my hands on a copy with my Secret Librarian Magic, but you guys are going to have to wait, so I'm just hyping you up a little early. This book is about Mexican folklore, specifically La Llorona. I don't know who's heard the story of La Llorona. A Mexican woman and an American soldier fall in love during the Mexican-American War. They have a couple of children together and they're happy until one day the American soldier goes to town and hears rumors at the market about how disgraceful it is that he lives out of wedlock with a woman, a Mexican woman no less, and he becomes embarrassed and leaves her. And the woman, seeing him ride off into the sunset and with no way to provide for her children and no hope for the future, drowns her children one after the other in the river and kills herself. And so now, if you are a child walking alone along the river and you hear the sound of a woman crying, it may be La Llorona, come to drag you into the river and take you away. So the story goes anyway. Paola Santiago doesn't believe any of that, or any of the other hooky nonsense that her Mexican mother has brought with her from across the border. She is a woman of science, and she is determined to have the best summer ever, looking through her new telescope with the best viewing spot right on the bank of the Gila River, with the best snacks, Starbursts, and her best friends, Emma and Andre. But when her friend Emma goes missing from the spot on the riverbank where they're supposed to meet, and Paola sees a figure through the reeds, just the shadow of somebody, she starts to wonder if there's more to those hooky Mexican legends than she thought. Cue Paola and Andra going on an epic adventure to free Emma from the clutches of whatever has taken her, or whoever has taken her, where they find out the true meaning of friendship and that slippers, especially slippers from your grandma, are the ultimate weapon. So that is Paola Santiago and the River of Tears by Tehlor and Mejia, and that is once again not out until August. So I hope you guys are as excited about the Rick Riordan imprint as I am, and I hope you guys check out at least one of these books from your local library, and happy reading!